The next game I want to cover is a bit of a special one because it is one that I designed, although it is loosely based off the White Elephant, which, if you're not familiar with, is a gift-giving game that many people play during the holidays, and I do have this designed with Christmas in mind, but it's not limited to Christmas. You could use it for whatever you celebrate or any occasion where you're going to have some sort of gift exchange. The reason I designed this one is because I wanted a fun game that everyone can play during Christmas, so the rules of this one is very simple, but it doesn't have the same holes and issues that the White Elephant has. And I can explain this in just a minute here, and you don't have to know how the White Elephant plays, but if you are interested in that, you can check out my other video here where I do break down how to play the White Elephant, how to play my game, and the differences between the two. But all you need to play this game is just a deck of cards, and any deck will do. I just happened to grab some Grinch playing cards because I like the little bit of fun it adds to the theme. And I know I do have some different colored envelopes here, but you don't actually need those at all to play the game. I think it just adds a little bit more to the theme and adds a little bit more fun to the experience. Especially since my family does play this every Christmas, this just kind of gives that letters to Santa sort of vibe. But all I do with these is I just shuffle up the cards. You don't even have to use the whole deck. You just need as many cards as there are people playing the game. And like I said, this is a gift-giving game, so you do need to plan a little bit in advance and make sure that everyone who's playing does bring a gift, usually around $20 to $30. Everyone does need to wrap their gifts in advance, but you don't put any labels on them at all. You don't say who it's for or who it's from, because you're just going to be putting all these gifts in a single pile once everyone gets together to play the game. You're then going to be dealing a card to each player randomly, and they're not allowed to look at it. And that's the reason I have the envelopes, because I just go ahead and put a single card in each of the envelopes. And then rather than just getting a card, every player gets an envelope with a card hidden inside it. So the way that the first player's turn is going to work is that they're just going to walk up to the pile of gifts and choose whichever wrapped gift looks most appealing to them. Then they're going to be taking it back to their seat and unwrapping it. And that's the end of the first player's turn for now, and I'll come back to that in a second here. But then it's going to be the second player's turn, and they're going to be doing the exact same thing, just going up to the pile of gifts, choosing one to take back to their seat and unwrap. But the difference here is that they can choose whether to keep that gift or swap it with any of the other previously unwrapped gifts. In this case, they only have the first player to trade with, but if they want to trade their gift, the first player has no choice but to allow it to happen. The catch here is that every time you force another player to trade with you, you also have to give them all the envelopes you have in your possession. So in this case, the second player would swap with the first, and then the second player would give the first player their envelope, meaning that they have no envelopes in their possession anymore, but the first player would have 2 envelopes. But things start to get really interesting the more gifts that are open, because let's say the third player went up and opened their gift and they got this little badge here. They can then decide to steal any of the previously opened gifts. So maybe they wanted to steal the bottle cap, so in that case they need to give their envelope to the first player, and then they would swap gifts. But this is a cascading effect, so every time that you have a gift stolen from you, you can decide if you want to steal a gift from someone else. You can't swap a gift that's already been swapped for that round, so in this case, the only person that the first player could steal from is the second player. If they wanted to do that, they'd have to give all 3 of their envelopes to the second player, because you always give away all of your envelopes every time you steal. But the game continues like this, with the different gifts and envelopes being shuffled around as more players unwrap gifts and add them into the mix and steal from the other players. And the stealing might seem a little mean, but it's actually not a bad thing, because it's a mechanism that makes sure that more people are getting the gifts that they want once the entire game is over. But as you get more and more envelopes into your possession, the less likely you're going to want to steal from someone else, because these envelopes are going to give you a very special power at the end of the game if you have the highest sum of cards in your possession. So let's say that these got shuffled around and there's other gifts added, and the first player ended up with this, and the second player ended up with the bottle cap, and the third player ended up with 2 envelopes and some other gift here. At the end of the game, we do circle back to the player who went first, because they didn't get the opportunity to steal at the beginning of the game, so then they just get the option to steal or keep the gift that they currently have. After that final swap, then everyone's going to be opening up the envelopes that they still have in their possession, if they have any, and then everyone's going to be adding up their cards to see who has the highest sum of cards, and whichever player that is gets to do one final bonus swap that does not cascade into additional swaps. They just get a guaranteed action to get whichever gift they want, which is why it's so important to try and hang on to as many envelopes as possible. Of course, you don't know what's in the envelopes, so there is a chance that someone with less envelopes in their possession could have a higher sum than you. And it is a little anticlimactic if the person with the highest sum of cards doesn't want to trade their gift at all. So if that's the case, we go to the player with the second highest sum, and then they get to decide whether they want to do that final swap. And if they do, then that ends the game, and everyone gets to go home with the gifts that they have. But this is just a game of silly fun, so if anyone wants to make any trades or negotiations after the game is completed, that is perfectly fine. If you do want to try this out, I do have the rules already written up, and they're super short, and you can go ahead and check them out. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. And if you are interested in getting the same deck of cards and envelopes that I have here, I did just buy these on Amazon, so I'll throw some affiliate links in the description as well if you do want to grab those in order to complete the entire experience of the game. And this is a game that I do iterate on every time I play it if I do find any room for improvement. I think it's in a really good spot right now, so I don't know that there's going to be too many changes from where it is right now. But if you do end up trying it, and if you have any improvements or ideas or variants, I am really interested to hear about those, so feel free to email me at adam@shelfclutter.com or to message me over on the Discord, and maybe I'll give your variant a try the next time I play this.